So my question for you is does your personality affect the team?
What do you reckon?
Yeah. I watched the video this morning, so I know the answer, but keen for you to touch on it.
I think so. I don't think there's any hiding from the fact that whether you like it or not, as coach, particularly head coach, and you might be the only coach in whatever level you're coaching, you are a leader. You are probably the first leader of that group, and you set the tone. And your personality does set the tone of whichever way that goes. Let's just take those classics. If you're a dictator, that's your personality. You're going to set a tone and environment which is going to be a dictatorship and a hierarchy down the order. And that's going to flow through the team, whether it's conscious or not. People are going to understand that's the system. And it's going to be, you're there, players there, they're there. If you're democratic, all that stuff, it's going to flow on. And it's just going to inherently flow. So whatever your personality is, it's going to go on to the team. Whatever approach you take is gonna be reflected. You're the first leader. Your tone, your behaviour. It's downward traffic, and I think it's important to remember that as a leader. I take a approach which is as much as I can. I try lose as much ego as I can around that leadership. I think ego's a massive word for coaching. I think coaching inherently attracts potentially people, with a little bit of ego, and it can certainly consume you in a leadership role that you feel like you want to succeed. Of course, you want to succeed, and if you don't, you take it personally, and that's a personal affront to yourself. So, with leadership, I think the more you can release the demons that ego bring out, the better it is. And me personally, I one of my key learnings from like the leadership style of things and my personality was, I remember that I was coaching the Canadian Sevens team, and we played the American Sevens team. That's a big rivalry when we lost. And I remember I was really down about it because it was a big rivalry. And I remember I walked upstairs in the grandstand and it sort of barged past a lady that was trying to keep people out of the coffee area. And for me, I remember thinking, after reflecting on that, that's not my personality, but I'd been absorbed by the ego of winning, of this coaching thing, that I'd become someone else, and my personality had changed. And then when I reflected on it, I was like, right, if this is what I'm showing to the public, to the team, that's then acceptable, that if we lose or perform, I can behave in whatever manner I want. And that's essentially the example I'm setting for the players. If we lose or things don't go right, whatever way you behave is acceptable. And that's not right for the players. I don't want that. I want resilient. I want strength of character. I want, strength in the face of adversity. All those, glory words, I suppose. But I wasn't necessarily reflecting it myself to begin with. And I think if that's what the leader, me, the coach, brings, I need to check myself and before I can critique anyone else about the way they behave.
I rate there what you're saying about ego, and I'm keen to just dig a little bit deeper on it. So as a player, you often want a player to be confident and have a bit about them and almost have a bit of a strut and a confidence way they are on the field. I'd imagine as a coach, you never want to give off the vibe that you're not confident in what you're delivering or the environment that you're in. And also the second part to this is, if you're desperate to get to the next level as a coach or a player, often it comes across that you're desperate. How can you go about that a better way?
Yeah. So the ego is a fascinating one, isn't it? So I like the second part of the question is how do you give off that desperate stuff is tough. I guess that the first part of that question is around, like, how do we, check our ego and just keep it at bay? And I think my biggest analogy, which when I had this sort of aha moment is being able to separate success and what that actually looks like. And I talk about this in the videos around what the difference is between public and private success. So publicly, as a professional coach, I'm defined by results. That's what the public's going to see: trophies, titles, banners, all that stuff. And from a public perspective, fair enough. And that's just what it is. And I, professional coach, understand that. I've got to weather enough skin to realize externally that's what people are looking at. Yep. But privately, what success looks like is very different. Success for me is my philosophy, which is to help grow great people. That's my base, to grow leaders, to help culture. And that's what keeps me on track. So that's my coaching philosophy, is my private successes. And that keeps the ego a little bit at bay, and it keeps it on the straight. When your ego is attached to the public success, it can go up and down based on results and whatever may be happening in the public eye, particularly from a professional point of view. We lose, everything was bad. My ego's taken a hit. I'm going to take it out on players. It's unacceptable. And I go down that route. But, you can't always control that, because, you might have 15 injuries, or you might have, COVID-related absences and things like that. And just a circumstance which you can't always control. But if you have a default area where you come back to your private success, like, how have I been able to grow this culture? Am I growing this culture? Am I developing leaders? And you've got small wins amongst that.